Hello, and welcome back to Side by Side with D. Today we're going to be focusing on some seasonal produce. Seasonal produce isn't something that I've particularly paid attention to in the past. I feel like whenever I would grocery shop, I would just get what I wanted, or if I wanted to try something new, it was because it just kind of piqued my interest in the moment, and I wasn't necessarily paying attention to when it was grown, the best seasons to eat it in. And there's so many benefits to eating produce that are in season. One of the benefits is being able to support your local farmers. Typically, you'll see things like kale, beets, even collard greens. They'll typically be on sale more this time of year, and that is because the cost to produce those products and be able to have them in store in the grocery store is a lot cheaper, because grocery stores are able to actually work with local farmers based on the produce that they're able to actually harvest in this season. And so it kind of cuts down the cost of like paying for it to be shipped out of country or from a different state. Now, that's not to say that that doesn't happen, but you're more likely to find things that are locally farmed when it's in season. Another reason is our bodies know what they need, right? So something like a root vegetable, really high in vitamin A and antioxidants. Something like an orange, a citrus, great for vitamin C. There's been speculation that vitamins don't actually make a difference, but the closer you eat to whatever is being locally sourced is a great way of just listening to your body, because your body knows what you need and what season. And it's kind of amazing how like the earth can provide you with the things that they think that we need at this time. So what we're going to be doing today is we are going to be making one meal and one sweet treat based off of seasonal produce. It is lunchtime. It is 2 o'clock. So we're going to be making a nice hearty salad. It's January, and I know people like to kind of dive right into whatever their New Year's resolutions are. So I know that people are going to be eating a lot more salads this time of year. And I wanted to do something that kind of had still like a warm element to it. Like, we're going to be roasting some sweet potatoes and some beets. It still feels really hearty, but also it still has like kind of like that punch that you just love in a salad. These are all ingredients that you could also, if you don't really care to eat salad, you could make a really good breakfast hash. So with the kale, you can saute it up. You can have your roasted vegetables and then maybe crack in like an egg, or use one of your favorite proteins like a breakfast sausage. And it'll make a really good breakfast hash. That is something that you can also do for breakfast and for lunch. And it also reheats well. So if you are packing food for work, that's a great option. So what we're going to be doing, our base is going to be kale. Now, I got dino kale. It's my favorite. And also, I was actually going to get just like the regular green kale, but it was kind of wilted, so it's fine. I ended up going with dino kale. One thing that we'll have to do is make sure that we massage it in the oil before we dress the salad, so that way it kind of just softens it a little bit, and we just make sure that the flavor is in there, because people have like a love-hate relationship with dino kale, but I like it. Another thing we got here that I think I've already mentioned are some beets. Now, kind of what this channel is about is being able to kind of introduce new things or introduce old things in new ways. I'm someone who I've always drink my beets, so I usually get it in like what are those called? The juices. And you know what I'm talking about? Like if you go to like Greenpoint Juicery or any juice store, or any store really that sells juices, they'll have like a beet, apple, orange, turmeric, elderberry, whatever type of juice. I always go for those. So I think I like beets because I'm typically buying beet juice, but I've never had beets in their natural form. So it's going to be interesting to figure out. I'm assuming that we just cut it on both sides, shave it down, and then cut it the way we would the sweet potato. So we're gonna do that. Now the orange, I'm not gonna use for the salad, but we're gonna do something in between putting our salad together. I got chopped walnuts. I was looking to see if they had them loose or if they had kind of like in those small packages that you know come from like a local farm or something like that. But they were expensive. So we got these chopped walnuts. We're gonna go ahead and toast them in a pan before adding them to the salad. The apple is also something that we're gonna be doing. What we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be making a mulled cider. Now, it's not actually a cider because we're not using apple cider. We're going to be using apple juice because that's what I have. So it's kind of like in between a mulled cider, and if you've ever been to Starbucks and you've ever had the caramel apple spice, just without the whipped cream. So it's a nice little treat. I am someone during the winter, I love like hot chocolate or chocolate. I love chocolate any time of year, but especially during the winter, I love like baked sweet treats. So this is kind of a way that it's obviously not sugar free. The apple juice has sugar in it. But it's a little bit of a twist of kind of giving the chocolate a break and just using, again, things that are in season to have a nice little sweet treat for whenever you want during the day. So before we get started on that, we're going to go ahead and prep our veggies and get the oven preheated. I'm going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees while we go ahead and get our beets and our sweet potatoes chopped up. Okay, so we need a cutting board, a knife, and a potato peeler. I'm only going to use one of these sweet potatoes. That way, if I decide to make it again, I'll just make another batch because I don't want them to just kind of be sitting in the fridge unused. Now, what I typically do with these bags is when I'm cooking, I'll just keep it open on the counter and then just throw my scraps in there. That way I'm not walking back and forth to the garbage. But also just to get like another use out of them so I don't feel like I'm wasting them. I used to have those reusable produce bags, but then I would always forget them. Or they sometimes wouldn't fit whatever it is that I was trying to pick up in the grocery store that day. I think I also like needed to wash them. Like I don't know, I didn't do a good job of taking care of them or utilizing them in the best way. So right now we're gonna peel our sweet potato. I typically don't buy sweet potatoes. I don't know if you can see in the corner, but I do have like some yellow potatoes here. So I don't know why, because I do like them, and I honestly feel like they're my favorite to have in like during breakfast, and I feel like I would eat breakfast more. I think it's just more so like the prep, like I don't like prepping potatoes, so maybe I could prep some in advance and then like keep them in the fridge throughout the week. I just have to remember that I have them so I don't waste them. Okay. So I cut off both ends. I can smell it already. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go ahead and peel around it. These definitely bleed, but they're so pretty and they smell so good. I'll have to figure out what else I can use beets for. I do have a juicer, so technically I could make some juices of my own. So I'm gonna cut it in half, and then I'm going to cut it in half again, only because it's so small. And then we're gonna cut across. Now, if you don't want your pieces this size, if you want them a little smaller, what you can do is you could start off cutting this into thirds and then cutting across. That way you have a smaller bite. But I don't mind this size. That should be enough. We're gonna save the other two. Probably should have did those last. That's okay. So I cut the sweet potato in half. Now I'm gonna go in and cut it in half again. Oof. By this episode, we should be, what, $20 in to our knife fund. I can't wait to get to the end of that so we can get a new knife. I think this episode, at the end of this episode, it would be $40, which is exciting. We're already making progress. If you haven't seen the previous video, what I'm referring to is with every season episode, I don't know how this is going to break down yet, we're going to have a goal of just kind of upgrading some of the kitchen tools that we use. It's nice to see other people kind of go out and buy everything all at once, but that's not reality for a lot of us. But that doesn't mean that we don't deserve better quality cookware. So what we're starting out with, well, for me, the most important thing I need are knives. I've had this knife since I moved here about 8 years ago. And I think I just got it at like Walmart. It came like in a knife set. And after doing a little bit of research, I know that any knife worth anything does not come in a set. So we have a knife that we have our eye on, and it is expensive. I think it's about $160. So it's kind of like an everyday knife. I think it is this type model knife exactly. We're saving towards getting that knife. So by the end of this season of episodes, we should have our new knife, which is exciting. I'm excited to get a new knife, but I'm also very excited for us to be able to kind of work on that goal together. Because it doesn't have to be everything, you know? It'd be nice. But again, it's just not reality, and that's okay. But we are going to work towards building up those things the same way we're working towards building up our skills, building our palette, building, you know, our inventory of kitchen staples and pantry staples that we like to have, trying things. Overall, just having a better cooking experience at home. That is what this is all about. So, we're starting off with knives. And I'm scared to do this. I know you're supposed to like keep the knife like when you're cutting like close to the knuckle, but I promise you, like this is like a butter knife. And I do still have the knife sharpener, and I do still sharpen them. It just doesn't do a very good job. Do not want to cut my finger off. I've done that. Oof. I'm not exaggerating either. I literally cut through the tendon and the nerve in my pinky. I had to get surgery. It was not fun. So one of these are gonna be a knife skills lab type episode. We're gonna learn together different types of cuts, how to cut safely, and how to take care of our knives. We're not gonna learn how to take care of our knives once we actually spend all that money and get that knife. We're gonna learn ahead of time. And we can also take care of what we have too. Like I know this is cubing, but there's also like a julienne. I don't think you can cut things into spirals. I think you actually have to have a machine that does that. I have a lot more sweet potato than I have beets, but that's okay because I'm actually not going to use all of these sweet potatoes for the salad. I am going to use some of these for breakfast. Okay. These are obviously not all the same size, but they're all cubed. So we're going to get a pan. Well, first let's rinse our hands. I don't want a lot of space on the pan because I don't want the seasoning to burn, so I'm using a smaller pan, but you can use whatever size pan you have. I also saw someone do a trick where they had a larger pan and they just kind of pushed all the veggies to one side to season and oil them, and then they spread them out. And I thought that was a really smart hack. So we're just gonna move this to the side. We need this in a second for our kale. Okay. So I have some fine sea salt and some black pepper. Okay, so we have pepper, we have salt. I also have some onion powder here. Trader Joe's has this green goddess seasoning. Just to read off some of it, it has minced onion, salt, garlic, ground black pepper, chives, green onions, spinach powder, lemon powder. So and then I'm gonna add some garlic powder. Now I'm gonna give this a toss. And we're gonna use some avocado oil. So it's gonna go into the oven. I'm gonna set a timer for 40 minutes and then we'll check on it and see if it's ready by then. I'm gonna move this rack up one. It's a little low. Okay, well that's set. We are going to work on our kale. So I think we're gonna cut it before we wash it. Typically when I have like lettuce or any sort of anything I'm using for a salad, I will rinse it, then cut it, and then rinse it again. I just like to get any bugs that I can see with my eyes off of it right away. Before I start cutting, I have this thing, I'm like, am I gonna cut into a bug or is it gonna somehow get lost? But I don't know, for whatever reason, when I check out kale when it's whole, I don't ever really see any bugs on them. They always seem pretty clean. I don't know if it's pre-cleaned. Like pre-washed. Usually if something is pre-washed, it'll say it on the label, but whatever, I digress. Use about half of it. Now, if you do not like the bite of the stem, you can go ahead and remove it. The way you do that is, the way that I do it is I'll start from the bottom and then I will just pull it off and then you'll be left with the leaf. I don't typically mind the stems, but I'm just gonna take a few of them off, probably just the bigger ones. I think that's like where the bitter taste comes from, and probably what a lot of people don't like about it. And one more. Okay. So what we can do, and you don't have to, you can just go ahead and give it a nice rough chop. But I'm gonna line them up a little bit because I'm gonna roll them. It's how I cut my collard greens, and now I'm just kind of used to doing things this way. Just rolling it up. Doesn't have to be perfect. And just going across. Especially in a salad, I like kind of having like the ribbon to eat versus like the big chunky squares, I guess. And I have to have my collard greens cut in ribbons in order to eat them. We're getting down to some of those stems, so it's a little bit harder to cut through. These stems are kind of like at the end, so we're gonna toss them. Now I have a salad mixer bowl thingy, but if you don't have one, you can just use a regular bowl and rinse them. Sometimes I don't even like to use it because I feel like it just creates unnecessary dishes. And I don't have a dishwasher. I am a dishwasher. So I like to avoid extra dishes if I can. But because we're eating these, well, because we're eating them, but especially we're eating them raw, we want to make sure we get them nice and rinse. So while that fills with water, I'm going to grab some baking soda and a little bit of vinegar. I usually do this to clean my veggies. One, I feel like it kind of gets everything up off of them, and it kind of gives me a peace of mind when I'm eating them. Secondly, and I know this is more so like when cooking them, but I still apply it here, is I know like baking soda can kind of tenderize your greens a little bit, and again, I know that's more so when you're cooking them, but I'm just so used to doing it. So I have my bowl here. It's pretty much filled with water. I'm just gonna add a little bit, nothing crazy. And some vinegar. I'm just gonna let it sit for a minute, and then we're gonna rinse it a few times, dry it, and it'll be ready to go. So while we're working on that, we could do a little bit of a cleanup and then start the dressing. Now for the dressing, I want to do a closer to like a balsamic glaze. I do not have balsamic vinegar. I mean, not a balsamic glaze, a balsamic vinaigrette. I don't have balsamic vinegar, but I do have a balsamic glaze. So we'll just add some oil, some honey, some seasonings, a little Dijon, and it should be good to go. Vinaigrette is one of those things too that I feel like I need to spend more attention and time on learning new ones. Again, I love salads. I sometimes get bored with making the same salad over and over again. And I think that's because I just don't explore enough of different types of vinaigrettes or even different types of salads that I can make. So this also kind of falls in line with one of those things that I kind of want to open my horizons to, get more experience, kind of get more things in our book, literally our book. We're going to be using our recipe book today to write down the salad and the hot cider, which is exciting. I want to have 100 of these by the end of December, all specifically from things that we've tried on this YouTube channel. Throw that in there. I think I'm actually gonna make a breakfast hash with those leftover sweet potatoes and kale. And then these 2 baby beets. I don't know, we'll have to figure something out. Okay. When you lift it up, there are some yuckies in here. So, I don't know. I feel like the baking soda vinegar trick works. But it could just be me playing on my own ideas. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get about a half a cup of these walnuts in here. Maybe a fourth. Yeah, that should be good enough. So this is a fourth a cup. We're going to go ahead and get these toasted. So you don't need to put down any oil or anything like that. Nuts naturally have oils that they will release. And so it'll get nice and toasty, just going straight into the pan. We're going to toast them for about 5 minutes, moving them around occasionally. I have most of everything that I need. Now it says that balsamic glaze is really just balsamic vinegar that's been reduced down to like a glaze. So it's really just the consistency of it that's different. So we're gonna have that. We're gonna put a little bit of honey. I'm gonna use some olive oil. Now, another thing that I learned is that when you're using olive oil to eat, that it's best to use single origin olive oil, which basically means that it comes from a single region. There's nothing wrong with blended oils, like when you're cooking, but supposedly it is better when you use a single origin olive oil to eat. So this one says that it's a small batch from California, so that's what we're gonna go with. We have our honey. We're gonna add some salt, a little bit of pepper. Now I have this small trial package of Penney's Greek seasoning. I absolutely love it. I think that it's really, really good in making vinaigrettes. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and use. If you want to make it at home, it says that it has salt, oregano, garlic, lemon peel, black pepper, marjoram. So that's this here. And we're not going to make a lot of it. I'm actually going to use the same measuring cup that we used for the walnuts. So we're going to go ahead and add probably an eighth, no, I'm lying, just under a fourth a cup of olive oil. I'm gonna give 2 generous squirts of balsamic glaze. This honey is messy. We're gonna do about a teaspoon of honey. We may have to add a little more. We're gonna add the Greek seasoning. And really quick, I'm gonna stir these walnuts. Just make sure you move them around. They're not gonna take long. Little bit of pepper. And it already has salt in it, so I'm just gonna add really just another pinch. I don't know because I used the balsamic glaze, but this is the quickest I've ever seen a dressing emulsify, or the oil emulsifier, which is a good thing. That's good. Oh, that's good. Yeah. That makes me happy. Okay, we're gonna turn these walnuts off. I can smell them. And, oh, I wanted to add some shallots, but the grocery store didn't have any. Shallots are also in season for the month of January. But I do have some goat's cheese. Now, typically I would use feta, but I don't have any feta. You could also use Parmesan cheese or whatever kind of cheese you prefer. But I do have the goat's cheese, so that's what I'm gonna go ahead and use. And let's just check on our roasted vegetables. I'm just moving them around. They are at like the halfway point, a little more than halfway. So that's good. So we're just gonna put our dressing, our lettuce to the side, and we can put up the rest of this stuff. Now while we wait, I think would be a good time to start on that mulled cider. So what we're gonna do, we have our apple juice, an orange that I had already cut into. We have an apple. Typically you would use cinnamon sticks. I don't have any cinnamon sticks. So we're just gonna go ahead and use some ground cinnamon. Let's see what else. A little bit of nutmeg. If you have fresh nutmeg, even better. I don't. We need some allspice. Another thing. So I'm gonna be adding dulce de leche. It's totally optional. You really don't even need it. I just like the caramel flavor from the caramel apple spice at Starbucks. So I'm just gonna add a little bit to mine. If you also like that, then if you have caramel sauce, you can use caramel. I don't have any, so I'm gonna be using this. We also need some whole cloves. And let me just make sure I'm not missing anything. Oh, brown sugar. So we have all of our ingredients, and just to double check, there isn't any added sugar, but again, it's apple juice, so it has sugar. So it is kind of a sweet treat. It's definitely on the sweeter side. But if you have a sweet tooth and you're looking for something to satisfy that craving and you kind of want to give chocolate a break, I feel like this is a great option. I'm only making enough for myself right now, so I'm just gonna pour in enough for a cup. But you know what? Someone else in my house might like some. So in goes apple slices. I just did about a half an apple. Two halves of an orange slice. We're gonna go in with some cinnamon. This will be the time to add your cinnamon stick. We're gonna add 2 cloves. One allspice or pimento seed, whichever you like to call it. Just a dash of nutmeg. I'm only gonna add a dash of this in here because I'm probably gonna just put it in my cup. And about a good pinch of brown sugar. We're gonna go ahead and give this a stir. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and let this come to a boil. Our timer's about to go off for our roasted vegetables. So we can go ahead and clean up our area. Now will be a good time to get a bowl so we can start assembling our salad. I have these plate bowls that I'm absolutely obsessed with. It's like a bowl, but a plate. I pretty much serve every dinner on these. They're my fave. So we're gonna take a good chunk of this. Now we wanna go ahead and just add a little bit of this, right? Because we wanna massage it in. And you may have to mix your vinaigrette again. It's gonna settle, so it's okay. Oh, and that's our timer. Our veggies are beautifully roasted. So we're gonna set them aside really quickly. No one is eating this but me. My hands are clean. So I'm gonna go in. I feel like when you massage it in, and I'm pretty sure it's somewhere on the internet, it kind of just breaks the green down a bit. It makes it easier to chew. That looks gorgeous already, and we haven't even done anything yet. Now, my cider is still going. It's not to a boil. Once you see it get to a boil, you can turn it off. But mine is not there yet. So we're just gonna let it go for a few more minutes. So this is our goat cheese. We're gonna just dollop. I think if you get like the log, it's like a little bit more crumbly or breakable. I got this because I was making a dessert and I needed it, and so I didn't mind at the time that it was more, I guess, whipped or smooth. That should be enough. We are gonna go ahead and get a nice scoop and just probably a little more. Go ahead and add our toasted walnuts. I personally like having a little crunch on the salad. And just to get the dressing on there, we're gonna go in with one more drizzle over the top. Okay. Now that is a beautiful, quick, easy, super easy seasonal produce meal. Ooh. Again, if you don't like salads, you don't have to do it. We could have cooked all of these components together, like I said, with either sausage, egg, whatever it is that you wanted, and it would be just as good. We're almost done. Now, you don't have to do this, but I'm somebody who just absolutely loves apples, and I've already used half of this apple for the cider. So I'm just going to take the rest of this apple. I'm just going to add some pieces on here. It almost feels like a fall dish. But I guess apples are something that are produced in the fall, but they're also produced in January as well. Cut that one out. Okay, my friends, and that is it. That was easy. This looks delicious. I am way behind on eating lunch, so we're gonna go ahead and take a bite. And then we're gonna try that mulled cider. So our cider has come officially to a boil. So we're gonna go ahead and get this strained and into a cup. So here I have the cup that I'm gonna use. I actually got it in this, well, I guess last year's 2024 Christmas Village in Baltimore. It's so cute. And I have this tiny little strainer. So I'm gonna hold it over the top and we're gonna go grab the cider. Now, if I could do this without spilling half the contents in here, it's going to be very successful. What I want to do before I do that to ensure that I don't spill it all out is I just want to grab some of the fruit that I know that I'm going to want to keep. So I just took one of the orange slices and some of the apples and I placed it in my cup. Okay. That wasn't bad. Okay. We're done. We have our salad, which is so good. Again, I have to look that up. I don't know the science behind it, but massaging the dressing into the kale has definitely softened it and just made it that much more enjoyable. That's so yummy. And the last thing we want to do, oh, look how cute. Actually, we should give it a test. I think I'm actually gonna hold off because I put some in the pot. It would probably make sense if I had actual whipped cream and then to drizzle over the whipped cream, but I don't have any, so it's fine. Oh my gosh. That is so good. It's so good and it's so warm and just, it feels like a hug. And it feels very cozy and it doesn't take a lot of ingredients. And you don't feel, not that you should honestly, ever feel bad about eating anything, but you feel less bad about having it in the middle of the day. So this I'm definitely gonna have after I finish my salad. But I wanted us to break out our recipe book so we can go ahead and just write down what we used. So what we'll call this is our January salad. So we used 1 sweet potato, 2 beets, say about half bunch of kale. And I'm just putting kale because you can use whatever kale you like. What else did we use? We ended up doing a 4th cup toasted walnuts and about 1/2 apple. Now for the vinaigrette, we used about a 4th cup of olive oil, maybe 2 tablespoons of balsamic. My stomach's grumbling. I don't know if you can hear it. Balsamic glaze. What else did we put in there? The Penney's Greek seasoning. And I'll say about 1/2 teaspoon. I think that was it. Oh, and then you can add whatever cheese you like. So I put goat cheese, and then in parentheses I'll put feta, cheddar, etc. So for method, I'm putting cube sweet potato and beets. Preheat oven to 400 degrees. We're gonna season with salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and TJ's green seasoning. Dress with oil. I used avocado oil, but you can use whatever oil you prefer. Roast for about 40 minutes. We're gonna put massage vinaigrette into cleaned kale. And then dress salad. That was easy enough. Let's see, do we have a tab for drinks? And it's so pretty. If I didn't mention this in my other video, my bestie got this for me at Barnes & Noble. We were there together and she's like, you're always cooking and you should have a recipe book. So thank you, Deanna, if you're watching this. So let's say we used about 2 cups of apple juice. Oh, for the title, we can call it a mulled apple spice. I just combined 2 names. 2 cups apple juice, 1 cinnamon stick, because I do want to use a stick in the future, so I'm going to write it for the ingredients with the stick. 2 cloves, 1 allspice pod. I guess it's like a pod. What else did we use? Oh, pinch of nutmeg. pinch of brown sugar. And I'm going to add an asterisk next to caramel or dulce de leche. That way it can be optional. 1 apple and 2 orange slices. And we'll change that to half an apple. So for the method, we're just slice fruit, add all contents to pot, let it come to a boil, strain, and enjoy. Okay. That was it. That was everything. We have our lunch, we have our little snack, and we're gonna go ahead and enjoy the rest of the day. If this was something that you liked, definitely go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Comment maybe any sort of adaptations or alterations that you would have made to the salad. What are some of your favorite seasonal produce, and what are some recipes that you would use for produce that are your favorite in this season or in this month of January? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next video. Coming back on here to say that I forgot to add honey to the recipe book, so I just added it in. So we used about a tablespoon of honey, so make sure you add that in. Okay, love you, bye.